Welcome, one and all, to another edition of the Defo Show with Luby right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. Each and every day, when you own a home, have a residence of some kind, it is fun, the things you can find. And it can be scary. It can be stressful. But thank goodness to Water Cleanup of Florida, it won't be stressful or scary for you if you find water damage, fire, or mold damage, because Water Cleanup of Florida, with over 60 years of experience between Michael, Robert, and their team combined, will eradicate any issues. Because they have licensed contractors, they not only will find the issue, but they can fix it. So you can just go to one place to get everything done with any of your issues, and you can call them 24/7, 954-579-0356, 954-579-0356, or reach them, WCUFL.com, WCUFL.com. If you do mention 5 Reasons or Luby, you can get a free inspection during business hours. Also check them out on their socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Water Cleanup FL. Water Cleanup of Florida, we clean up your schmutz. It hasn't been schmutzy for Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero. Yeah, the first round was a little rough for the two young stars for the Miami Heat. I was tough on them. I was wondering where they have been. Well, we found them this series. Both Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo have been great. We talk with Ethan Skolnick himself, Mr. 5 Reasons himself. Ethan Skolnick joins us to talk about Bam, Tyler Hero, Spoelstra, Miami Heat now up 2-0 after the victory last night over the Philadelphia 76ers. And, of course, a little bit of Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid and James Harden right here, the Defo Show with Luby on the 5 Reasons Sports Network with Ethan Skolnick.
I'm Jeff DeForest. He's Mike Luby Lubitz, and we welcome to the show. And this happened with Dave Hyde yesterday, who's been out covering all of the local sporting events here in South Florida late night. He's alternating between the Heat and the Panthers, so it's night after night. And we welcome one of his contemporaries, although it's interesting because, Luby, I don't know, you don't really get a newspaper that you read that you put in the hand there. But I'm always looking for one more page in the sports section. So once I get by the Belmont Park entries, I'm flipping one more page back towards the body of the paper, and I'm hoping there's one more page of sports. And often it falls on the business section, and you'll be reading about like Bezos or Warren Buffett, some acquisition that he made that they made billions on. And, you have, of course, Elon Musk now buying Twitter. And then right underneath those names, there's a reference to Ethan Scoop Skolnick now with everything that he's doing with of course, 5 Reasons Sports Network. And what is this new venture, Scoop, that I mean, this looks like it's put you into that category where your name will be, permanently and indelibly impressed upon business annals forever. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Defo. Very good. Actually, I was talking to Hyde, and it's funny because he was saying he can't find a physical copy of the newspaper anywhere. Neither can I. Where do you find this thing called a newspaper that I worked for 20-something years?
Yeah, I don't know about the Sun Sentinel or any. I mean, you made the circuit here, Palm Beach Post, Sun Sentinel, Miami Herald. I get a New York Post delivered, and I've said this a few times on the show because it's true. They do a great job of the home delivery, which is somewhat surprising. But they fire the newspaper at the door, and I hear it make a thud at about 5 in the morning. And then I hear the guy cursing in Spanish on his way back to Hialeah because it's the only newspaper delivery in Broward County, I think, that I'm getting right now. All right. Let's get it. What is this new thing, though? Fanalytics or something?
Fanalyst.
What's it called? Fanalyst?
Fanalytics. We should have used that, actually. No, it's called Fanalyst. So it's basically what it is it's kind of based on my concept here in Miami, except this is the whole country. So it's an app, and it's actually available right now on the App Store and on Google Play. And, it's not completely, like I said, it's not completely what it's going to be. So we actually got approval earlier than we expected. So at the moment, we're still kind of uploading content from all the other cities around the country. But what's going to be is you can already use it for Miami. And it is basically all your content on that team organized. So whether you're somebody who creates the content and, right now, like, we have a lot of people now who, like, they cover a bunch of different teams all over the place. And so this allows them to sort of filter their teams so that everybody can find their stuff easier than on Twitter. And then also the Twitter experience there is filtered so that you don't go on Twitter and have to follow you're following all these different people, and you're getting all this stuff that you don't want. So basically, if you decide to follow Miami Heat on there, all you're going to get is every bit of content you can possibly find, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, blog, just on the Miami Heat. So it's like just a much better following experience for a game. And we're going to have chats on there and all kinds of different stuff. So it's just like a sports content hub, but, tailored towards the people who are creating content on this who may not be working for the newspapers or anything like that.
You're a monster in this business, Ethan Skolnick. Who knew? I mean, just absolutely fantastic when you were banging out those articles for the Sun Sentinel that it would evolve into this. And I only wonder, I mean, when they – like they are doing with the Uber guy. I mean, when HBO and, of course, Winning Time makes the portrayal and the, a sort of, a dramatization of your career, that they do a better job of picking somebody to play you than they did in trying to depict Jerry West and Pat Riley.
Everybody always used to say I look like Craig Counsell. I never knew if I liked
Yes,
that.
you do.
You look like Counsell.
You do. Yes, Craig Counsell, the Brewers manager. Could easily be you, But, I mean, unless Barry Pepper plays the role of Ethan Skolnick, don't allow them to go ahead and do the dramatization. All right, let's get into it. You were there last night. And did Doc Rivers lose this series? And should there be an investigation as to why he had Joel Embiid in that game? And it's easy to dump on a coach. A guy gets injured. It could happen anytime, obviously. But why was this guy in this ballgame after being injured throughout the series? And it looked like it was going completely south for Philadelphia. Now they're in just a commanding position, 4 minutes to go, 29-point lead. Should this guy not have been on an airplane on his way to Miami instead of in the ballgame at that point?
What's so ridiculous about this is that Kendrick Perkins, who obviously has a relationship with Doc from playing with him in Boston, used the excuse. He blamed it on the media instead of blaming it on Doc. Because he said the media was focusing too much on Doc blowing 3-1 lead. So we kind of did this to him that he felt he had to keep Joel Embiid in that game, not to blow another series lead. What I'll say is if you don't have confidence in your own coaching, your own team, to maintain a 29-point lead with 4 minutes left in the game without your superstar, you have other problems. And, I mentioned this in game one. With about, with about 4 or 5 minutes left. The Heat were up, I think, 13, and Eric Spoelstra had Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo on the bench. And they're not hurt. At least, Jimmy's not significantly hurt in the defense. So, yeah, it's ridiculous. And to be honest, it did in many ways cost Philadelphia a chance to be competitive in this series. I don't know, look, I would have picked the Heat anyway. I just think you look at Philadelphia's bench, and it's a train wreck. And Miami's bench is so good, as we saw last night. Not only do you have the sixth man of the year, who's been terrific the last couple of games, but now you can pull a guy off the bench who's your seventh man, who's a two-time All-Star, in Victor Defo, who gave you 19 efficient points last night and great defense. So, I mean, Philadelphia's not pulling those kind of players off the bench. I mean, they're pulling a cork moth off the bench. I mean, there's nothing there. So, I don't know that Philadelphia, pushes the series to 7 anyway, but certainly this gave them no chance because their team is so heavily dependent on Embiid, the way that they're constructed. And they're not really built now to play through the guards. I love Tyrese Maxey. I think he's going to be an all-star in a couple of years, and I do think the Heat regret not just drafting him a couple of years ago. You saw Calipari in the building yesterday, and Spoelstra after the game was saying, just give me more Kentucky players. Well, you had one because they could have drafted Maxey 2 years ago to add to this mix with Hero and Band that they already have. But I just, James Harden, to say he's a shell of himself, I mean, the only thing he is maybe he's eating taco shells or something. He is, he's about 30 pounds.
He did look bloated, yeah. Well, one of our, fans and viewers pointed that out on our chat line here. Looked like Butterbean Esch was shooting baskets for the Sixers last night.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you watch him going up against P.J. Tucker, who, he played with P.J. in Houston, and, P.J. is known because, P.J. is, he's a wide body, okay? P.J. doesn't give you a whole lot of verticality, but he gives you, he's horizontal, okay? Harden is like built thicker than PJ Tucker is right now.
Yep.
He looks like a power forward trying to handle the ball out on the perimeter, and he can't get by anybody. I mean, people know my feelings about James Harden as a superstar, but I didn't think it would be this bad. I mean, he literally. They're hunting. He's hunting for switches to get. He can't get past Bam or Jimmy or Tucker, so he's hunting for switches to try to get Strus or Hero, and he gets the switch, and Max Strus has him in jail this entire series. I mean, and no disrespect to Max, but I mean, if James Harden can't get past Max Strus, what are we doing here? I mean, is this a Max player? I mean, it's ridiculous. So to answer your question, Stock blew the series when you let them be there.
Excellent. Scoop Skolnick with us here. Luby's got something for you, Scoop, and somehow he'll find some way to be dissatisfied with the way the Heat are performing, I think, so far in the series. No? I mean, he's one of those fans. You could win by 20, and he's still like, I can't believe that they missed a free throw. What do you got, though?
He knows me well, but no, I'm not. I'm actually not going there. But we are talking with Ethan Skolnick, at Ethan J. Skolnick, at 5 Reasons Sports, Mr. 5 Reasons Sports, and Fanalist, so definitely check both out. It's funny, we talked about this with the last series, and it was my only frustration, and they were winning the series, but it was what sort of scared me was you're playing one of the worst, if not the worst, defensive teams in the playoffs, yet Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo can't find their way. Well, they were listening to someone because they found their way, and both have been the catalysts in this series, plus Oladipo. But Hero looking like Hero, making his smirk and his snarl. Bam Adebayo being aggressive like we saw him in the regular season in a way that we had hoped he would be his whole career. It's been wonderful to see, and I'm just curious, why now? Like, what happened, do you think, between last series and this series that had them wake up? Because they look like the two guys we saw all year long and been waiting for.
Well, let's start with Hero. I think you said this before the first-round series. It wasn't really a Tyler Hero-built series. The way that Atlanta defends, which is infrequent, but their style of defense, we didn't necessarily look at it as a series for Tyler. We looked at it as more of a series for Jimmy. So I wasn't stunned that Tyler didn't put up big numbers. I think the concern about Tyler in round one was the Heat played 11 guys. They played a 9-man rotation, but the players were in and out. Spoelstra basically played 11 guys, semi-regular minutes in that series. And of those 11 guys, Tyler Hero by far had the worst metrics on the team. He was the Heat in the first round series. 7 guys were at least a plus 10 per 100 possessions, which is really good. And then they had 4 guys who were minus, and of those 4, Tyler by far was worse. So my concern was his overall play. It wasn't just the offense. It's just that he just didn't seem engaged. And when you're watching him last night, he's playing with joy in this series. Like, you can always tell if Tyler's comfortable by just looking at his face. Like, it's not hard, particularly at home. He has that sort of this bounce to him. He had it last night. When I talked to him before this series, I was saying, what part of your game gets you started? And he said it's basically the 3-point. That once he makes the 3, everything else kind of opens up. And he made a 3 in game 1, I think, sort of late in the first quarter, right after he came in, and you could just tell him he was relaxing. So I just think, again, part of it was matchup in the first round. The way Philadelphia plays with their drop defense plays, specifically to Tyler's strengths, and he's been terrific. As far as Bam goes, again, and it's funny, because what Defo was saying, that I can hear Luby's Bam tweets in his voice. So that's a pretty good indication. I know what Luby's going after Bam on Twitter. I just think, I don't think he was bad in round one. I disagree with that. I think that he was tremendous defensively. Offensively, a lot of times they just weren't looking for him, to be honest, which happens. In this series, they've made more of a concerted effort, but also he's made more with his opportunity. There was one stretch last night, I think he only had 6 shot attempts, but he only had 15 points because he was so efficient and aggressive. And when he's getting the ball now, in that, not necessarily the post, but just he gets it anywhere near the basket, he's going up with it, okay? And that's the thing you want to see, because, even once he got sort of stopped last night, but then the ball came right back to him, and he finished it. And those are the easy opportunities that this team needs. It doesn't have to be thrown in the post like he's Patrick Ewing or Hakeem Olajuwon. He's not. But he's such a quick twitch player that he'd go right back up after he gets stopped. And so I think he's been great too. So I think you see the depth and versatility of this team. Round one, the best players on this team were Jimmy Butler and P.J. Tucker. Okay, and then Duncan Robinson gave you, an 8 3-pointer game in game one. In round two, the best players have been Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, and Duncan Robinson isn't even playing until there are 59 seconds left in the game. And now Victor Oladipo has kind of replaced him in terms of impact. So this is who the Heat are. The national media doesn't understand it, which is why all they talk about is the other team. But this, I think, if you're a Heat fan this year, you kind of got used to it.
That is pretty wild when you think about it. You had Duncan Robinson with that monumental game where he looked like Rex Chapman against the Chicago Bulls many years ago. And I'm watching last night. I didn't stay tuned in for all of it, but I'm looking. I'm saying, is this guy even playing? He doesn't even sniff the court.
Yeah.
As you said, until 59 seconds were left in what had already been established as garbage time. Pretty wild that the Heat are able to maneuver like that and just eliminate a guy who was so crucial for him in one of the earlier games in the postseason. All right. Ethan Skolnick, we're talking to Ethan Skolnick, 5 Reasons Sports Network, and Fanalist. Fanalist is a new thing, and that's going to be dynamite all over the country. The expansion just absolutely phenomenal. But, one of the things that we like about you also, Scoop, is that you have Pat Riley's ear, which, this is a man who we have nothing but the ultimate of respect for. And we've been asking people this that have access to Riley or have seen him around or have been down to the arena for some of these games. Have you asked him about the portrayal in Winning Time and the fact that they found an actor who makes him look more like Joe Pepitone than the Pat Riley that we remembered being on the bench there for the Lakers, Mr. Slick?
I have not had the opportunity to ask him. He's been a little bit elusive during the postseason, but I can only imagine. I don't think I'm sure the portrayal doesn't bother him as much as Trey West's portrayal bothers him. But I do know that the book that this was based on, which is Jeff Pearlman's book, which is actually a great book, I had a chance to read it, called Showtime. I know that Pat didn't cooperate for that. He doesn't tend to cooperate for a lot of these things. He picks and chooses. I guess if you don't cooperate for him, then you kind of deal with what the consequences are. But he didn't. There's a book out right now, which is also worth reading, called Blood in the Garden, which is about the Knicks in the late 90s, which we actually had the author on our podcast. And, it's just something that gets into Stark space in the early years. And there's a lot of Pat, obviously, in it. And I know that the author, his friend of mine, couldn't get – he reached out to the Heat, but Pat didn't want to participate in that one either. So, I think the thing about Riley that's so fascinating is that he's had, really 3 completely different careers. And that's since he played, which was a different career entirely because he was, obviously, a hippie role player. But if you look at, if you look at the Lakers, the Showtime character is not the same character that was there in New York. And the New York Riley, I think, has become a totally different Riley here in Miami. And I really think a lot of ways, this is, if you look at what's been achieved here, this is not getting talked about anywhere nationally. I really don't understand it because there was such a fascination with Phil Jackson and others. And with Pat, think about what has happened here. And you had the best player in the world for 4 years, okay? We know all the circumstances. Some people know all the circumstances, but a lot of circumstances that led to that player's departure. And I really thought that was it for Pat. When I met with him after LeBron left in 2015, Pat's talking about we're going to turn this thing around, and LeBron broke the chain of all these great teams we're going to have, but he was defiant. Even if he was talking to me, I'm like, you're not going to be able to recover from LeBron. This was the best player in the world in his prime. And now you've got to kind of, make this thing work again. And here we are, and they had a very competitive team in 16, and obviously the Bosch situation kind of blew that up. And all the adversity they dealt with, Riley has over his career. Rizzo getting sick, Bosch getting sick, LeBron leaving, and everything else. And now, they're in the finals 2 years ago, and they got a chance to go to the finals again with a completely different team than they had a few years ago. This is one of his great achievements, I think. You look at this roster, I mean, they're starting 2 undrafted players in games like game 2, and they're up 2-0. They're 6-1 in the playoffs. I just think Pat, his legacy here was already cemented. But what has happened with this particular group, the way he's turned it over to Eric Spoelstra, and what Eric Spoelstra has become, because that was a Pat Riley pick too. Is really remarkable.
No, it's amazing. I mean, he cloned himself with Eric
Exactly.
Spoelstra. It's
That's
fantastic.
Really what it is.
I wish they would go back to wearing suits on the sideline there, because Spoelstra always, I mean, if you were going to do one of those, columns where you had who had the edge would be Spoelstra every time, because he was wearing Riley's inherited clothes. Just absolutely incredible. No, it really is remarkable. And that's been unique in this town, Ethan, as you well know. Because even the vaunted Dolphins organization seemed to fall flat on its face for over 20 years, and we still don't know, where they're at exactly. We're hoping, and there's that Dusty Springfield thing, wishing and hoping that it does work out. But it's been a long drought, and the Heat have never endured that. And I would have to say, after getting stiffed by LeBron at that meeting they were supposed to have at like Circus in Las Vegas or whatever that was, and he doesn't even show up, and then you knew he wasn't coming back to the team at that point, or at least most people would figure. And I think it was even being leaked through like people who knew Dwayne Wade, or maybe even Dwayne himself. He's not coming back. He won't meet with Riley. And he thought, this guy will never be able to piece this back together. And then, he tried it a couple of years ago. They added in Jimmy Butler, and he thought, yeah, that's okay. But I don't know that people would have anticipated these kind of results. And now it appears that they have a fairly clear path into at least the Eastern Conference Finals, which, is no small accomplishment after being the best in the East during the regular season. All right, so no talk of the portrayal in Winning Time. And I would imagine Pat's probably not watching too much of that. Okay, as you look at the rest of the series, even with the infusion of Embiid, would you not think, and it seems like you're of the belief, like most people would be, that this is already too deep of a hole now to overcome?
Yeah, I think so. And if the reports are true that Embiid, that his vision is enough of a problem that he couldn't really even look at his phone over the past 24 hours, I find it hard to believe that he's going to be at top level in Game 3. And look, I'm almost a little surprised that he's going to try it if that's the case, because it's not just getting back from a concussion, which is a mild concussion, which is cleared, but when you're talking about this orbital bone fracture, I mean, last time he had it, he was out 3 weeks. And, to be able to kind of get it right, you have to give it a little bit of time to heal. And, he gets hit the wrong way. Like, there could be vision problems for him long term. So I'm a little bit surprised. I think part of this is the circumstances of where he plays in Philadelphia. I think if he's playing somewhere else, maybe there wouldn't be quite the pressure for him to get back. But, I mean, will they be better with him? Of course. Okay, if he's even 60% capable of what he's playing. I mean, there's DeAndre Jordan. I think passed away a few years ago, but the doctors put him back out on the court. So, like a weekend at Bernie's situation. So anything's gonna be better than that. But I just don't think they have enough. I said it before. Like, I mean, that bench is disastrous. And I think when you look at what the Heat have accomplished, the remarkable thing here is, they really have, 3 max players on their roster right now in terms of what they're being paid. And Jimmy, Kyle, and Bam, right? And Tyler is going to be one, but he's not there yet in terms of what he's being paid. They got 3 max players, and yet somehow they've still been able to build a roster that's 12 deep under the salary, under the luxury tax. And so the Heat are just pulling good players who can fill numerous roles, like, off their bench in all kinds of different places. And Philadelphia, is pulling a Korkmaz. Like, there's just nothing there. I just don't think they can sustain it against Miami. And, the only thing about the Heat is, at times on the road this season, their focus would lapse.
Yep.
And then they get a little sloppy with the turnovers. And that's where the Kyle Lowry thing, may become important. I don't necessarily know that they're going to push Kyle out there in Game 3. If they lose Game 3, then I think the series is 3-1. I think you'll see Kyle in Game 4. And so I think this series probably ends in 5 games. I think Miami loses one up there. If Embiid comes back, there's going to be a lot of energy in that building. Maybe that's the one they lose. But I think then the Heat gets game 4 and closes it out on Tuesday.
All right. And I would then feel it was safe to say we have seen the end of the process in Philadelphia, that the process finally, I can't think of a process, that takes longer. I guess when you're at the proctologist, it seems to be taking longer, but, this, unfortunately,
the only
not end well.
Takes longer is, the only process that takes longer, so the construction on I-95, that's not really construction. But they time it for when the Heat game ends. Yep. So that last night it took me an hour and 35 minutes to get back to Fort Lauderdale. I mean, they just closed.
Nice.
They just closed lanes for the last. They've closed the same 3 lanes for the last 20 years at exactly 10 p.m.
Always.
To make sure that you're funneled to the 8:36 into the water. That's basically what they do there. That's the only process longer than the Sixers process.
I know. Yeah, I thought I heard you yelling out your car window, "DeSantis, you suck!" Which you might have been inclined to yell anyway, but nonetheless, that's a whole other story. Scoop, always a pleasure, my friend. It's great to be a part of your organization there, 5 Reasons Sports Network. And thanks, as always, for being with us. Very, very, interesting stuff all the way through.
Actually, I'm recording this. Thank you. I'm recording this from my car, still trying to get back into construction. That's why I'm not on video right now.
Thanks, Scoop. I appreciate it. Always appreciate the time of the founder, president, CEO, Mr. 5 Reasons himself, Ethan Skolnick. Been covering South Florida sports a long time, especially the Heat, a guy that covers the Miami Heat as well as anyone, not only here in South Florida, but nationally. Plus, not only knows the organization, but has really good ties with them and covers them as honestly and realistically as anyone. And we always enjoy our conversations with Ethan. He has always set me straight when it comes to the Heat, whether I'm too high or too low. Really thought good things of the Heat. And Ethan sees that as well. Really liking what he's seeing from Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, the Miami Heat bench. Really curious, just like Defo and I and most people, what Doc Rivers was thinking about leaving Joel Embiid in the end of that Game 6, final game of the Raptors-Sixers series, to where now Joel Embiid is out, and it looks like he may be out for a little bit. Ethan also talked a little bit about how Kyle Lowry might not be coming back in Game 3, especially now that the Heat are up 2-0. We don't know when we'll see Kyle Lowry, but we have seen rejuvenated Victor Oladipo. And Miami Heat, now poised up 2-0, head to Philadelphia later this week. We appreciate Ethan's time. Appreciate your time. If you want to check out more of us, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9, just Google The Defo Show. Also, our exclusive content podcast, Believe.com, search After Hours, and every day right here, The Defo Show with the Luby on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.